Oh, what is the upskis, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the GXHockeyCast. We're on episode 156, newly traded Eric Holla of My Little Hockey Show, where once a week I go through all the news and what's happening around the NHL, mainly focused in on the Leafs and Flames. Those are my favorite teams, but I'll be discussing all 32 teams on this podcast. And they did it, y'all. They did it. They went back-to-back Stanley Cups for the Florida Panthers. How do we feel about that? It was a fucking awesome series starting out. The first two games were arguably the best of the whole entire playoffs. They were absolutely sensational. The overtimes, so good, so freaking good. Couple of blowouts in there, including the inevitable Game 6 winner. Couple blowouts there where Edmonton just wasn't really in it, and Florida played their game to damn near perfection, shut them down, did their thing, and there they go, back-to-back Stanley Cup champions, and that is a lot of Stanley Cups coming to Florida over the last, 5 years? We've had 4 in the last 5 years, something like that. 6 in 4 years, 4 in 5 years, something like that. That's a lot. Now, is there a controversy behind that? I don't really think so. I think it's just timing. Same thing like when the West was, LA, San Jose, and Anaheim. That was like the valley of the shadow of death, like to go through there. Those three teams were awesome. It's just they didn't win as many Stanley Cups. LA won their cups. Anaheim won one cup a little bit earlier, and then San Jose had a whole bunch of chances and never won. But yeah, I don't recall people complaining a lot about California. Everyone wants to come play in California because I don't know California all that well. I think the weather's nice over there generally. Seems pretty busy over there. I don't know. But I don't remember it being like a big topic of concern. And again, I've discussed this where I don't believe, and the players get paid in American money when they're in Canada, so I don't really know. I think there's a lot of reasons why players aren't wanting to play in Canada right now, and sadly, I think the media is a big part of it, because hockey's a big deal in Canada, and the players who play for the Canadian teams end up being a big deal, and a lot of the guys, they don't want to be a big deal. They just want to play fucking hockey and all that shit. But anyway, that's me going off on a tangent. Let's slide back to the Florida Panthers, and congratulations to them. They're winning back-to-back Stanley Cup. 3 years in a row they've made it to the finals, and it's been an impressive freaking run for the Florida Panthers. Really turned the organization around. When I first started watching hockey, they were pretty much a forgotten, just kind of the joke of the NHL. They were, there's the Florida Panthers. They exist in their mediocrity and never really being all that good, wasting away a lot of great talent, like Luongo, he was there for so many amazing years that he played so good for them, and they just didn't have a team, y'all. I remember Richard Zednik, really liked Zednik, then he got his throat slashed. That was scary as hell. Anyway, but the Florida Panthers, man, what a turnaround for the organization. It's about freaking time, and that's all it takes, man. It just takes a little bit of organization and get a couple of guys or 3 or 7 that know what the hell they're doing. Buffalo should be taking notes, y'all. I don't know, what the hell, man? There's just no excuse anymore. Buffalo shouldn't be this bad anymore, but we know the issue there is the owner, so, you can't really do much until the owner's gets his finger out of the pie, or he goes away completely, or they move the team or something, but anyway, not talking about Buffalo. Let's try and stay on track with the Florida Panthers. Okay, so very impressive win. Was it a more impressive win than last year? I think absolutely yes. They absolutely walked through Tampa Bay, which I did not expect. That probably should have been my first, red flag that, oh shit, the Florida Panthers. I probably did react that way, oh shit, the Florida Panthers were playing a little bit of possum throughout the regular season, and that's what some of the best teams do when they're the playoff teams. They kind of just, get through the regular season. There's not so many major highs, there's not a lot of major lows. They're just kind of getting through it. They're just going through the motions because they know what the big goal is, and that is the playoffs. And I don't think the Leafs here we go. I'm not trying not to bring it back to the Leafs, but I guess we're going there. So, I really wish that Toronto this season took a little more inspiration from the Florida's playbook, where instead of forcing Matthews to play, well, they didn't force him to play in the Four Nations. He wanted to play, but they should have shut him down, knowing that, this guy is not 100%. It's not getting better. I would have just shut him down. Like, I know they really wanted to win the division because the Leafs never win the division, but like there's bigger goals at mind than winning the division, right? So you want to win the Stanley Cup, and sometimes you got to sacrifice some things in the regular season, which, the regular season can be very, very important to some teams. I just think teams like Toronto right now, we can get to Toronto. Like, I just don't think next season is going to be as guaranteed, easy playoff spot guaranteed for the Leafs anymore. They're going to have to battle for it a little more than we're used to. But I think some of those sacrifices that Florida makes, where people are like, oh, they don't look all that good, they're playing like crap right now, and like, sure, that's what it looks like to y'all, but they know it's like, hey, we're just saving our energy, we're getting healthier, we know we're making it into the playoffs, and once we're in there, it's a whole different animal. We got all these secret weapon playoff guys, Bennett and Marchand, and fucking apparently every single player on the Florida Panthers roster just steps it up when it comes to playoff time, and man, do they ever know it. And they should by now. This is their third straight Stanley Cup final. I think they know a thing or two about how to get there and what to do throughout the regular season to achieve such awesome success in the postseason, going so deep year after year after year, and kind of making it look easier and easier year after year. And a lot of conversation about this team, the Florida Panthers, could get back here again next season. We can get into that. But back to the Florida run. I mean, destroying Tampa the way that they did, and how good Tampa looked coming into the playoffs. And again, just kind of plays into that storyline, like, before we used to believe, like, you gotta be on fire going into the playoffs, or you're just not gonna make it. Look at St. Louis, man. Maybe they burned too bright too early, and they ran out of gas in the first round of the playoffs, just trying to make it into the playoffs. They almost took out Winnipeg, but maybe if they didn't blow their whole entire load just making it into the playoffs, they would have had a little more left in the tank for round one. But Florida, man, they kind of stumbled into the playoffs like a freaking drunk college student after a rough night, and boom, all of a sudden they're just, I don't know, they smashed a freaking Clamato juice or something, and the hangover's over, and they are just playoff bound. Walk through Tampa, then they get the Leafs. And a lot of people are, the Leafs, they gave them the most trouble. Oh, the Leafs could have won the Stanley Cup. Enough of that. No. If you watch the series, the Leafs looked outstanding in the first two games. Arguably, the third game, that's where it kind of started to fall apart. They could have won that game, but they didn't. They didn't win the game. So that's what happened. They looked great in the first two games. That was arguably some of the best that any team played Florida in the playoffs. The Leafs played them so good, played them great, but the longer you play the Panthers in their series, the more it becomes their game. They're wearing you down. They're just mocking you, I guess, verbally. They've been quite nasty on the ice. Hey, it's a game. You got to do what you got to do. But the longer you're in a series with the Florida Panthers, the worse it's going to be for you. And we saw that with the Leafs, man. The two games, we know the two games, the home games, Game 5, Game 7, where Florida absolutely demolished, ripped apart the Leafs, pooped in their mouth, and then just left them there on the side of the road just to think about their choices and all that stuff. It was bad. I don't think, even though the Leafs took them to 7, I don't think it was all that close. It was kind of a systematic take apart of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and that's exactly what the Florida Panthers do. They wear you down. We've heard the quote out of Maurice, you got to wear down their D, blah, 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 and that's exactly what they did to every single team. They wore down Tanev, they wore down Hedman, they wore down probably Slavin. I don't know. I didn't watch the Carolina series, admittedly. I just couldn't get into freaking Carolina hockey, but They destroyed Carolina again, and yeah, man, the way they walked through Carolina, just yikes. Yeah, so it looks really bad for Carolina, but I mean, geez, dude, it's the Florida Panthers and this war machine that they have created, their warpath through the playoffs, and then they get to Edmonton and they take apart Edmonton. I don't want to say it was more impressive because they won the first 3 games and then they almost fell apart. I think this one was more impressive. It was more, what would you say, solidified, I guess, that Florida was the better team in this series. Like, now it was a huge hill to climb right out of the gate. Without Zach Hyman, you know, my brain told me that Edmonton doesn't have a chance. My heart was like, I want them to win, so I chose Edmonton to win, but deep down I knew without Zach Hyman, they were really, really going to have a hard time. Hyman is kind of he's their shit disturber, the shift disturber, whatever. He fucking throws hits, he scores big playoff goals, and yeah, they were really missing that. I think Corey Perry did an outstanding job standing in for Zach Hyman, but he's 40 years old, man. Like, he can only do so much. That team it's not deep enough. The defense isn't deep enough, and obviously the goaltending ended up being kind of the turning point, the dagger, if you will, for Edmonton. And a lot of people are looking back on that decision to stick with the goaltending tandem that they had. Picard, Skinner, I don't know what you do with that. Like, personally, I think Skinner is a pretty good goaltender. I think he's pretty good. He's still very, very young. Like, I think, and considering how young he is, he's gone to 2 Stanley Cup finals and played pretty well. Like, he wasn't stealing games by any mean, but I don't think he cost the Edmonton Oilers games in this series. Yes, he let in a bad goal or 2, but I think he made some outstanding saves. And personally, I always thought he was the better option over Picard in the Florida series. I did not like the way that Picard played. He was swimming all over the place. Like, there was 3 empty net chances that Florida should have cashed in on. Somehow they missed the net, got blocked, something like that. But he didn't look good. Like, I'm not saying that he wasn't trying. He was trying his ass off. That's why he was flying around like that. But to throw a guy into the middle of a Stanley Cup final like that, I didn't think that was a very good idea. I know Skinner wasn't great and he was letting in a bunch of goals, but I think that's that's a problem on the back end. Their back end just isn't good enough, man. In Edmonton, like, a lot of flack going to Darnell Nurse. I think Darnell Nurse is a really good defenseman. It's just he's getting paid too much, and they could easily double down on that problem if they decide to keep and pay Bouchard the amount of money that he's probably going to be looking for, like $9-10+ million. You would have to imagine he's going to want more than Darnell Nurse. The amount of points that he's putting up, it's just his defense is so bad. And I know he definitely played better defense in the playoffs, but it was still not up to snuff. It's not good enough for Edmonton to win a Stanley Cup. They needed defensive stalwart back there. Ekholm is great, but he's injured and he can only do so much, and the Edmonton Oilers can only do so much with the salary cap in place, and that's only going to get more difficult with McDavid's next contract coming up. How much is that going to be? People are saying as high as like $18+ million. It could go higher than that. It all depends on how explosive the salary cap is supposed to go. Yeah, and there's a lot of questions to be asked for the future of the Edmonton Oilers. I guess we can ask a couple of those questions now. So I guess the big one is going to be, will Connor McDavid stay? And it's really easy to say no, he's not going to stay after seeing his face and the quotes after the Stanley Cup loss. I know you got to take that with a grain of salt, man. Like, these guys just went through absolute war, back-to-back Stanley Cup losses. Like, has that happened? I don't know if they're the first team to go back-to-back and lose both times. That's devastating, man. Like, I have no idea what they're going through right now. It's got to be some of the worst feelings. And yeah, to have a dozen microphones shoved in your face and be like, whoa, how do you feel? How do you feel? Yeah, obviously there's going to be some things said and some emotions being felt right now that maybe aren't going to stick for forever. And yeah, a lot of people are like, oh, Draisaitl's out the door. He's asking for a trade. McDavid's out the door. He's demanding a trade. Yada, yada, yada. I don't think that's necessary. I think Edmonton could easily run it back and try again next year with Draisaitl, McDavid. But it's going to be an organizational decision here. And obviously it's going to decide what McDavid wants to do, what the team wants to do, and all that stuff. And it's going to be a very difficult decision. Let's just say McDavid says, I am done. I am not going to re-sign with Edmonton after this year. I'm going to test free agency and I'm going to go to a team that best suits what I want, and I want to win a Stanley Cup. So if he does that, then Edmonton they can run it and just let McDavid have one more run at the Cup and pray that they win it and pray that McDavid is so happy and elated that they finally won the Cup, he'll stay and everything will be roses and everything will be good to go. I imagine that same thing for this season as well. Oh, if he wins the Cup, all roses, he'll sign an 8-year extension immediately for $4 and everything will be okay. And yeah, now we're at back-to-back Stanley Cup losses. We're looking at a team that just was not constructed in a way to succeed and get a Stanley Cup. And you know, they've made some good decisions. They made some bad decisions this season. Obviously, the goaltending was a big thing that they decided not to address. When there were goaltenders out there were trades available. There were options for them to go with, and I'm fine with them sticking with Skinner. Like I think they'd be a little bit silly to move off of Skinner. He's a young goalie. He's got a lot of heart, and he was only making $2.6 million. I think that's a very, very reasonable price for a young 1A, 1B goaltender. Kind of, I would compare him to Joseph Woll. Like, they're very similar, except Skinner just has played a lot more. And I believe Skinner might actually be younger, but still, where they should have addressed the goaltending was in Calvin Pickard. He's just like, yes, he can have a run. He can have some good games. He's just not consistent enough. He's not a reliable name that you can have back there, and I think they could have and should have upgraded that area right there. Their backup goaltender, get in someone that's a little more reliable, someone a little bit better, and maybe you could have kept Pickard as well, have him as a third option, but you should have brought in another goaltender. And I know it's really easy to say all that stuff now with the revisionist history and all of that stuff, but the way that the goaltending was last season, it wasn't up to snuff. And they decided to just run it back. It's just a really bad idea. They got some other contracts that they decided to go with here. You know, the Jeff Skinner contract just wasn't good, man. It just didn't work. I mean, he's an unrestricted free agent now anyway, but that was probably it was like $4 million. They could have put that towards the goaltending, towards something else. They could have definitely spent that money better. I think bringing in Kapanen was pretty good. Trent Frederick, they seem to want to bring back. Didn't really get a good look at that guy because he kind of came in banged up, but imagine he would be a good fit if he was healthier. He seemed to be pretty good. I really hope they can bring back Connor Brown. He's up. He's 31 years old. I know he doesn't really bring anything to the team in the regular season, but if you can bring him back cheap and just have that heart and soul playoff guy, I think that's fine. Then you got Corey Perry, 40 years old. The guy still wants to play. He had an awesome season. He scored like 19, 20 goals, something like that. Had an unreal run in the playoffs, and it just shows like this guy still got some gas in the tank here. And I think we're getting into a new era here when we're seeing, Brad Marchand. You're seeing the Pavelskis. You're seeing, who am I talking about right at this moment? Corey Perry. Guys that are 37, 38, 39, 40 years old, they're still producing in a top 6 role. They're still producing big time in the playoffs. Like, I think we're seeing an age now where we're going to start seeing NHL players, especially the more skilled ones, playing into their late 30s, possibly early 40s, maybe mid 40s. Like, again, I know he's not going to do it, but you could see Ovechkin playing like till he's 45, Crosby till he's like 45, Nathan McKinnon, guys like that. The super duper stars where the skill it lingers around for a long time, and some of the other things start to fall apart, but these guys could, as long as they want to, and Corey Perry loves hockey, so I can see him absolutely coming back. Just like, what do you do? Like, as Corey Perry, you got to feel extremely bad for the guy. He's lost so many Stanley Cup finals now, and he's getting so close, and man, he is putting some incredibly hard miles on his body, and he still only got that one cup to show for it way back in 2008, 2009 when the Ducks won it, and he was a pretty big part of that team, but now he's like, it's a completely different time. He's completely different. He's got kids now, and he would really like to have that feeling again at this point in his life, and I'm really rooting for him at this point, man. Like, how can you not? Even though I know he's the worm, and he's done so many terrible things, but God, I respect that player so much. So I don't know what the future's going to hold for Corey Perry, if he's going to run it back with Edmonton. He's had some really good runs with Edmonton, but I guess it's just I don't know. I would stay. I think Edmonton would love to keep him, and I think the price point would be very, very reasonable, I would hope and think. I think Podkolzin was a good addition. But yeah, Victor Arvidsson, that one didn't work out. He and Skinner, both of those additions, I thought they were going to be great. I'm going to put my hand up right now. When they signed those guys, I thought they were going to be slam dunks. I was like, oh, Jeff Skinner, that's 30, 40 goals right there. He's going to be playing with McDavid. He's going to be amazing. Arvidsson, same thing. I'll put him with McDavid or Draisaitl. He's going to be amazing. And it just wasn't, it just wasn't. They ended up being healthy scratches. Even though I thought Jeff Skinner played a pretty good Game 6, I thought he was pretty noticeable out there. Just nothing to show for it, sadly. So that is unfortunate. But Edmonton, they have some work cut out for them here with their roster this offseason. So I think the big outliers for Edmonton, why they lost this series against Florida, you got the bad starts. That was a big outlier, and pretty much every game, Florida came out swinging, and Edmonton just couldn't really find an answer for that. They had one good start in game 1 where they scored, 60 seconds into the game? Amazing. But they couldn't recapture that, and they needed that, man. They really needed those hot starts, but Florida just had more in the tank. They had a way more aggressive start for those games, and that cost Edmonton a lot. The bad penalties were really bad. Evander Kane taking a lot of bad penalties. It cost the Edmonton Oilers. They took 11 penalties in the first period throughout the first 2 or 3 games or some shit like that. Absolutely ridiculous. And then obviously the over-reliance on McDavid and Draisaitl. It really it puts a target on them. Teams can throw 2 or 3 guys on them, just swarm them, give them no room, and then there's nothing you can do about it. They didn't have anybody else that they could dish it off to. They didn't have the offensive depth on the team like the Florida Panthers did. So I'm looking at the team's construction right now. What could they do? Well, you got Draisaitl now. He's on the $14 million contract. It's a great deal. It's a fine deal. He's earned it. It's just now they're at the point when you got numerous contracts over the 12 million mark, and who knows how much that Bouchard is going to command, how much he's actually going to get. Will Edmonton pay him? So on and so forth. So it's going to be very difficult, but Leon at 14, McDavid's got one more year at 12.5. What's going to happen with that? The rumors are already swirling. Oh, he's coming to Toronto, so on and so forth. Well, we can only wait and see. He can sign a contract extension, I believe, at any point now. I believe he can do it, but July 1st, at minimum, he can at least start talking about it, and we can see how high that number can go. He's the best player in the world, I would say, and he's going to get paid like it, but will McDavid take a I think he's going to take a pay cut regardless. Even if he gets $20 million, he's worth more than that. In my opinion, it's just that you can't pay someone what they're entirely worth in this salary cap era. And again, I like the idea where every team gets like a superstar contract where that doesn't go against your salary, just your one superstar You can have one highest paid contract that just doesn't go on the books. So you can pay your McDavid's the $25 million, and you can pay, and then they don't have to feel bad for being a good player and getting paid for it. They don't have to take because it's always the best players that got to take the cuts, right? Like, the medium, the middle players, the bottom players, they're already taking cuts. They're already making not as much, so you can't expect them to take much more off of their salary. Not like the top guys. Top guys are taking like millions and millions. The other guys are taking like a few $100,000, which is a lot of money, absolutely. But it's a completely different scale when you go from like middle six, second line player to superstar. It's a pretty big gap. So I like that. I like that idea. Let every team have a fucking superstar contract where it just doesn't count on their books, and then we can build better teams. But so you're gonna have two of those at least. You're gonna have McDavid, Draisaitl making over $12 million, and then whatever Bouchard's gonna make, you'd have to think at least $10 million. And I don't think they're gonna let him just walk. He is a restricted free agent, so they have that going for them too, where they could qualify him and maybe trade him away. They can get a lot for him. Like, he's an unbelievable offensive defenseman, and he fits so freaking good in Edmonton. I'm just wondering, like, even I know he wouldn't fit in very good with Buffalo, but I'm just wondering about a player like Bowen Byram. Maybe they can get another young player, get him a little more cost controlled, and can probably do the same thing. He's got a bomb. He's very young and talented offensively. Might even be a little better defensively. I don't know, but maybe there's a deal there that they can bring in someone with a big booming shot. I don't know. But who else do they have to worry about? So, we went through all of them. So those are the guys they have to worry about unrestricted free agency-wise. Corey Perry, Jeff Skinner, Connor Brown, Kasperi Kapanen, not Sammy Kapanen, and Trent Frederic. Of those guys, I think it'd be good to bring back Corey Perry, Connor Brown. I think Kapanen was pretty good, and if you can, Trent Frederic, I think all those guys would be good. I think you could get them in there. They got about $12 million in cap space to make things work, so I think you can get all that done. Those guys pretty cost certain, but the big problem is Evan Bouchard. Like 90% of that $11 million would be going his way, you would think. They also have John Klingberg, who I think was awesome for them. So if you can get him re-signed, that would be really good, and that would help out. Now, there might be some contracts that they can try and get out of, like maybe Evander Kane they want to try and get out of. Maybe they're in a similar situation like the Leafs were with Kadri, though Evander Kane's not getting suspended. He is taking a lot of really silly penalties, and I don't know. They've already played a full season without him, and they were just fine. Yeah, he is a nice addition for a playoff run, but if he's going to take a whole bunch of really bad penalties and can't get over his hatred for Matthew Tkachuk, and I don't know if they're going to be able to do it, but they're definitely going to want to maybe look into moving on from Evander Kane. He's 33 now, so they might want to move on from that. They could try and get out of the Victor Arvidsson thing. He's at $4 million. I like Adam Henrique. I think for $3 million, he's pretty decent. Who else could they move off of? That's, Nugent Hopkins on a sweetheart deal. You're not touching that. Zach Hyman, you're not touching that. Leon Draisaitl, do they ever get to that situation where maybe we need to move off of one of these? But if you move off of one of those guys, you got to imagine that McDavid is going to be like, yo, fuck this shit, I'm out of here. But that's what we're looking at with the Edmonton Oilers. They're going to need some blue line help. But they got to figure out what's going on with fucking Evan Bouchard. That's kind of what is going to dictate what's next for the Edmonton Oilers. I think they could sign him, absolutely, and then trade off some of those not great contracts and try to find some winners. It's hard. It's not an easy thing. Kyle Dubas was doing it forever. Edmonton doesn't have any draft capital, really. They don't have a first or second or a fourth or a fifth. Next year, they don't have their first or fourth. After that, they don't have a fourth. So, again, they're going to have to, if they're going to make trades, they're probably going to have to start taking from the 2027 draft pool. And then, that's when you start to get to, this is the cost of chasing a Stanley Cup, and you're going to eventually empty the cupboard. So all the draft picks, all the prospects, Eventually you run out, and if there's no cup to show for it, that's very unfortunate. It's going to happen more and more often. It's going to be a thing that's more common in the NHL. It's very difficult to win the Stanley Cup, and we're going to see guys go without a Stanley Cup. And again, hopefully we don't see McDavid go cupless, because that would be tragic, as arguably the best player in the world right now. You don't want to see that talent go wasted. And I don't know, can they construct a team around this guy with those contracts? Is it going to be impossible if they add in a $10 million contract on Evan Bouchard? Is it just not going to be possible with the Connor McDavid's next contract and Draisaitl? I don't know. This is definitely, if they're going to have a shot at it, this is probably going to be the last kick at the can. But can you get back there again? I mean, Florida's done it. They've made it 3 times in a row. So who's to say that Edmonton can't make the finals a 3rd time? But they don't seem the same after this loss, and I do not blame them. It's devastating, and to have to go through that 2 years in a row, I imagine that's taken a bit of bite out of this team, and it's going to be even harder than it was this season to get there. So it's an even bigger mountain to climb. I don't know if Edmonton's got it in the tank to get up that mountain again. But let's turn this bus around. We're going to bring it back to Florida. We're going to finish off talking about them and giving them all their flowers. So Sam Bennett, the Conn Smythe winner, congratulations. It was it seemed like a 3-horse race there between Bobrovsky, Bennett, and Marchand. Marchand really pushed his way, even Sam Reinhart a little bit there at the end, just because he had such a great Game 6. But yeah, I think it was safe to give it to Sam Bennett. I don't really have a problem with that one. It seemed like the McDavid thing was just not going to happen this year. Like last year, he won the Conn Smythe on the losing team, and he was good this year, but he wasn't as good as he was last year. And yeah, so Bennett, what a freaking performance. What was it, 15 goals or something like that, 12 of them on the road? Like, that's just a monstrous performance. Now, we'll take a sidebar and we'll talk about Sam Bennett, and do you pay the man? Do you pay this man? I mean, if it's such a hard decision for Sam Bennett. Like, I think it is insane that the $10 million range is out there. I know the salary cap is going up, and this guy, but dude, I just can't think of a way that I could pay this guy $10 million. He just hasn't had it in his career, man. So we look, even like his years in Florida, he's been like okay. 28 goals, 16 goals, 20 goals, 25 goals, 49 points, 40 points, 40 points, 51 points. Are you willing to pay $10 million a guy, Barkov? Are you willing to pay him Barkov money for half a point per game? He brings it in the playoffs. Yes, he does. He has brought it in the playoffs for the Florida Panthers. Every year he's been there. He's been in and around a point per game. Does that earn you $10 million when you're just a 50-point guy in the regular season and you kind of muck it up and stuff? I don't know, man. Like, that is a hefty increase in pay. He's going to go from 4.5-ish to 10. I don't know, man. I don't think that's if I'm the fucking GM, this is my pitch meeting to the president, like why we shouldn't pay this man. Unless you are in a very, very peculiar, special spot. Now, I'm talking about a team like, I'm not going to say Toronto, because no. What about a team like Colorado, who has been searching for that second line center forever? Now, he is not going to get the points that they're looking for, but he is definitely going to bring that grit to the team and not get pushed around, you would imagine, and bring that extra element of, I just don't give a shit in the playoffs that a lot of teams could use. I'm going to injure this player accidentally on purpose, and I'm going to punch you in the face numerous times with no care in the world, and so on and so forth. I don't know, man. Like, I just can't, I would never pay him $10 million for that, because just picture it in Toronto, how that would go, man. You pay him $10 million, he gets 45 points as a Toronto Maple Leaf because he's in a new system, like, maybe he thrives in Berube's system, though, but he was with Treliving before, and, like, I know he wasn't, like, coaching that team, but I don't know, maybe it will work. I'm starting to talk myself into it a little bit here, but I don't want to pay him $10 million fucking dollars. I think that's insane. Now, we know what's going to happen. We know he's going to re-sign in Florida for fucking 8 years, $7 million, going to be a big old bargoon. I think $7 million is honestly where I would want to pay him. $7.5 million? I think that's a great number for a second-line center who isn't really an offensive threat, but he is definitely a physical, mental threat. He is a specialist in the playoffs. Like, yeah, you can earn a bit of extra cash for that. I go as high as maybe $8 million just because, like, yeah, second line centers are costly, but where would he bring it back to the Leafs again. I'm sorry, but if he is your second line center, you slide down JT down to that third line, you know what I'm saying? And Mitch Marner's gone. But in terms of the Florida Panthers, that's who we're looking at here. Could they bring back Sam Bennett? Now, I doubt they can bring him back for the $10 million that he is looking for. How much money do they have? Currently $19 million to play with. Now, settle down. They have things to pay for here. So in the unrestricted free agency bracket, we're looking at Brad Marchand. That's another one. They gonna pay this guy? Is he gonna stay? Is he gonna go? You know, this is the thing. Like, it's up to the players now, and it's, you know, do I want to stay in a beautiful situation? Like, Brad Marchand literally just earned himself a shitload of extra money and bought himself a bunch of extra years in the NHL from this rejuvenation from the Florida Panthers. Now, he can take that money and run, go somewhere else, get that 3-4 year extension, and just cash in finally in his career. Or he could do the Brad Marchand thing where he's competitive, he likes to win, he's going to stay in Florida, he's going to sign a nice deal. And but honestly, this is the one I don't think will happen. I don't think Brad's going to stay. Though I think you know what? I think Brad's fine wherever he goes. I think he just needed to get out of Boston, get out of that rut a little bit, and I think that rejuvenation, winning a cup, he can go anywhere and be a fucking superstar except Toronto. So I think Brad will probably go. I think it's probably best for him. Like, what more do you have to prove now, Brad? You won the cup. You were one of the biggest pieces of that cup win. Like, yeah, you really. I would say he pretty much solidified a Hall of Fame career now at this point. That second cup really has done it, and his performance in said cup run, I would say, has earned him a Hall of Fame spot. But if I was Brad, I'd walk, man. If I were him, go to Tampa Bay. Like, it doesn't mean you have to leave Florida. Go to Tampa Bay and just go play there for a little bit and love yourself a little bit. But it's a tough one. He could easily stay in a good situation, try to go for another cup. He could do that. That's absolutely for him. So they have Thomas Nosek as well. I don't really remember him much at all on the team, so he may not be coming back. They have Sam Bennett, obviously, Nico Sturm, who is a center left, and then restricted free agent, they have Sam Askevich, who is a pretty good young player for them right now, 22-year-old right wing center for them. So how much is he going to command? It's not going to be a lot. I imagine they're probably going to be looking bridge instead of a long-term contract for him because of the position that they're in. And now on the blue line, they got Jacob Magna. They don't really have to worry about that. Nate Schmid, they don't really have to worry about that. I think it'd be a great idea to bring him back. He was an absolute stud for them, especially in the playoffs. So, but again, like, Florida has this magical power where they can just bring in seemingly any defenseman and they become fucking top 4, top 2 defensemen, no matter what position they were in prior. We're looking at Aaron Ekblad. So that's the other one. I know Keefe on Spit and Chicklets is adamant about them keeping him and how important it is to keep Aaron Ekblad and Forsling together. I think it was those two. But to keep that defensive pairing together. But again, Aaron Ekblad, he's going to command more money now. He's going to be looking for probably in and around that $9 to $10+ million mark now. He's been making about 7.5. Now, Florida could play the, you're always injured card. You got suspended this year. I don't know. So he could make, again, if he wants to stay in Florida, probably going to make in and around what he was making right now. So you're looking at, let's just round up to like $8 million. So you're looking at, hold on, where the hell's the cap? So $11 million left. You're going to give the 10 to Sam? I doubt it. Let's say you give him give him 8. That's $16 million. That leaves you with $3 million to play with to try and get guys like Sam Iskevich, Brad Marchand. So yeah, it looks like one or two of these guys are probably gone. If they're going to be able to keep them, they're going to have to be able to get them on a bit of a bargain, which we know Florida's really good at being able to do. Their highest paid player on the team is Barkov, $10 million. So really hard for anyone to justify making more money than Barkov because it's Barkov. You also have Matthew Tkachuk at 9.5 and then Sam Reinhart at that sweetheart deal, 8.63. So again, that there's a formula here. It's working. They got 2 Stanley Cups, so Florida's in a phenomenal position to sign people, and we're just going to have to wait and see. But if I had to take a guess, I would guess, I think they're going to keep Ekblad, and oh boy, I don't know if Sam Bennett's going to stay for that little amount of money. Let's switch it. I think Sam Bennett will walk, Brad Marchand will resign, and so will Ekblad, and they'll get everything else done, and they'll find a bunch of fucking they'll find everything. They're going to find everything that they need. Do I have to worry about goaltending? Bobrovsky's got one more year at $10 million. He's probably going to retire after that. What does he have to prove now? He's got back-to-back Stanley Cups, like 2 or 3 Vezinas, like Hall of Fame goaltender for sure, and he's got one more year. So what happens with Bob, man? He's 36 years old now. They do need a backup goaltender. They could bring back Vanacek, but why? They could replace that with pretty much anybody, but they got Bobrovsky for one more year. Now it's starting to look like maybe they shouldn't have traded away Spencer Knight, because who's next? You got a 36-year-old goaltender here. How much more has he got left in the tank? I mean, he's put on some hard miles here, but he still looks really good. Like, would we be shocked to see Bobrovsky play till he's like 40? Would that be insane? I don't know. I don't think so, really. He's still playing very good hockey, and he is proven in the playoffs, man. He gets it done, so that's where the Florida Panthers are at right now. They also have, like, no draft capital. They got, somehow they have 2 fourths and 2 fifths in this draft, but they don't have their first rounder for the next 3 years. No second this year, no third. And, so they're looking like a playoff team, but when you got cups to fall back on, it really doesn't matter that they don't have first-round picks. Who gives a shit? They got Stanley Cups. So, looks like Florida is... could they three-peat? That's the question. Could this team come back and do it again? I mean, man, they got, like... Anton Lundell's on a really nice contract there, $5 million. He's the baby Barkov, I do believe. Where's that other guy? E2 Listerinen. He's also on a pretty nice $3 million for 2 more years. There's really not a lot of fat on this team that they would have to trim off. That I'm looking like. You got Evan Rodriguez at $3 million for the next 2 years, but he's such a good utility player. He could play up and down the lineup. He's a bit of an animal. He didn't really have a lot to show for it this season, but I like that player quite a bit. And for $3 million, I mean, you could do worse, so I think he's fine. Bobquist they got for 1.5, looking good. Gagovich is on a league min. AJ Greer league min. Defense, it's looking pretty good, man. They just got to worry about Aaron Ekblad, and I think they can get Nate Schmid back, considering that his career was pretty much over, and now he's a Stanley Cup champion. So why would you leave an amazing situation like that? Their blue line is so dirty cheap, it's not even funny. Like, Seth Jones at $7 million looks incredible now that he's on Florida. Gustav Forsling at 5.75 is insane. Niko Mikkola has now become the next Forsling. Like, this guy's insane. Kulikov is amazing again all of a sudden. He's on 3 years for the next $1 million. You know what I'm saying? These guys know a thing or two about how to build a fucking team. And I would not be shocked to see Florida do big damage again in the playoffs. And yeah, dude, I absolutely... just blown away, man. This team was amazing. They're better than they were, I would say, last year. They're a very, very impressive team. Very impressive team for sure. But let me know. What do you think? Do you think Edmonton, are they going to be able to get back to the Stanley Cup Finals again with this team? Is this it for Connor McDavid? Is he going to be a Toronto Maple Leaf? I did see the AI-generated press conference. It was fucking hilarious. I loved it. That's funny. That's some funny AI usage right there. That's in good humor right there. But it's fake, by the way, just so you know. That McDavid did not actually say any of that stuff. But you let me know. Do you think McDavid's going to walk after this one? What about Leon Draisaitl? That guy looked dead inside. Is he going to stick around after this? What's the future for the Edmonton Oilers? And do you think the Florida Panthers could three-peat? Are they going to make it back for a fourth straight Stanley Cup final? Can they do it? And what is the future for Sam Bennett and all those guys? Let me know. All right, let's get into the the NHL awards were finally all awarded, so we'll go through those really quickly. They did have like an NHL award ceremony, but it was different. They for Connor Hellebuck, they showed up while he was fishing, and they just, here's some trophies. See you later. Great. Awesome. All right, cool. They tried something different, and apparently it went over pretty well. So, Alexander Barkov, Selke Trophy. Are we shocked? No, not really. Anze Kopitar, Lady Bing. Okay. Ted Lindsay goes to Nikita Kucherov. Now, the Ted Lindsay, I believe, is awarded by the players, which is, yeah, dude, I think I love watching Kucherov. Every time I watch that guy, he shocks me at how nasty his passing is, and his vision is absolutely insane. So I'm completely fine with that. Now there's the controversial one. You got the Hart Trophy going to Connor Hellebuck. I don't really see the whole controversy behind it. People talk about your goaltender is the most important part of your team. You don't win with goaltending, so on and so forth. Why don't goaltenders win the Hart Trophy more? And their argument is they don't play every game. It's like, all right, but if you average out how much ice time they're playing, they're pretty much playing every single game, man. They're on the ice for the entire 60 minutes. No, they're not doing something the whole entire time. But if you don't have a goalie, you don't win. If you have a terrible goalie, you don't win. Or you will eventually, if you win enough to make it to the playoffs, you will get exposed in said playoffs. You'll be destroyed. So I'm all for goaltenders getting the Hart, but they got to be goalies like Connor Hellebuck, the guys that are playing 55, 60 plus games per season. The days of 70, 80 games per season, the Martin Brodeur season, that's pretty much done now. We've moved to a 1A, 1B system in goaltending, especially for the regular season, and then you have your stalwart go in for the playoffs. It seems like that's kind of more what we're shifting to, and I'm fine with Connor Hellebuck winning it. I think it's absolutely justified. Without Connor Hellebuck in that net for the Winnipeg Jets, they may not be in playoffs. Who knows how far down in the standings they are without Connor Hellebuck. And it goes to show, in the playoffs, when they don't have Connor Hellebuck playing like Connor Hellebuck, they're toast. They're absolutely toast. So I'm completely good with him winning the Hart. Fine with me. You got Leon Draisaitl winning the Rocket Richard. Obviously, he scored the most goals. Art Ross goes to Nikita Kucherov. Cale Makar wins the Norris Trophy. That's fine. And Lane Hudson takes home the Calder Trophy. Again, totally fine with that one. I think Wolfie would have won it if Calgary got into the playoffs. I think then it would have been justified for sure. But how can you take that away from Lane Hudson, man? Dude had 60 fucking assists in a rookie season? Insane. He is an insane company. So I think Lane Hudson is absolutely deserving of that. You got Spencer Carberry from the Washington Capitals winning the Jack Adams Award. Very, very well earned. What a team the Washington Capitals were this season, with not a lot of hype around them. It was a lot of experiments and what-ifs with that team, and they all were slam dunks. So, yeah, well done from the Washington Capitals. Sean Monahan wins the Bill Masterton, of course, with the Johnny Gaudreau story going on this year. That's completely justified. And then after that, I don't really know. All right, so that's the awards. Pretty interesting. I don't like them doing it throughout the playoffs. I'd rather why don't we just do it at the end or something? Do it at the draft maybe? I don't know. I don't know. I don't like the slow drippage of it coming out throughout the playoffs. So that's just my opinion. But let me know what you think about all that stuff. All right, let's talk about some quick hits around the league. Let's stop in at Dallas and talk about Jason Robertson. There's some talk about him being on the trade block, or maybe he asking to be on the trade block. I don't know. But apparently there's some heat around this, and is there potential bringing Robertson to Toronto? Again, I don't think that solves the Toronto problem. But I don't know. like Robertson, he didn't have a great run in the playoffs this season, but he's had really good runs prior. He's been in a bit of a slump. He had a 100-point season a couple of years ago. He hasn't really been able to get back to that. He's kind of been hovering around the point per game, which is still really good. He's a big body, but he doesn't really use it. He's like 6'3", big body. I would like to see him throw it a little more, be a little more power forwardy in his game, but he's more of a finesse skill player. I'm wondering if there's a fit here in Toronto with his brother being here. Maybe if they can connect, and maybe you bring the best out of the younger Robertson, then you get the Robos out here, you get Robo line, J-Rob and fucking Nicky Bobby and all that. That'd be fun. But is Jason Robertson the type of player that is just gonna? Isn't he just kind of like Mitch Marner but a little bit bigger? Like he's 6'3", Marner's 6'1". But I don't know. I'll pull up his stats here. Let me pull up his stats and we'll take a good look at Jason Robertson here. All right, so you're looking at Jason Robertson here. We got 1 year left. 7.75. Really nice little deal right there. He will command more money for sure. He's definitely going to want an upgrade on that. And he's a restricted free agent, which is also rather interesting. Now, his playoff career, we're looking at his first run, 7 games, he got 4 points, 1 goal. Next, 19 games played, 7 goals, 18 points. Next run, 19 games, 6 goals, 16 points. And then this run, 11 games played, 4 goals, 6 points. Now, he was injured, so it did look like he was starting to get it going. But that's not bad, man. That's not bad. You're looking, he can score, not a lot, but he can score in the playoffs. He could score in the regular season. His last 4 years, 79 points, 109 points, where he got 46 goals, 63 assists. And then he followed up with back-to-back 80-point seasons, 35 goals, 29 goals, respectively. So if I'm looking at Jason Robertson, you're looking at that 109-point season. It looks like that's a career year. That's shooting for the stars. That's not something you're expecting him to do year after year. Now, it looks like he's about an 80-point player, 30 goals, 50 assists. That's not bad, man. If I was the Leafs and they're weak on the left side, Jason Robertson plays left, right wing. I think he plays more on the left. Is there something you can do there? Now, Leafs don't have anything to trade, obviously. The best they can do is throw Cowan and all the whatever prospects they have. That's the best that they can do is throw a Cowan at them, throw a first-round pick, and hope that's enough. I think that could actually work pretty well. Jason Robertson in Toronto, I just don't know if the money would work. The money would work if Marner's gone. It doesn't seem like I discussed last week about a sign-and-trade possibility for Marner. It doesn't seem like that's on the table anymore. It really seems like he's going to walk. He doesn't want anything to do with Toronto. He's not talking. He's not talking to anybody. And he's going to go for a long run in the free agency market. And he's not even going to sign day one, apparently. He's going to just let the offers roll in. He's going to take his time looking at them and making the right decision. The right decision is go as far away into the West as possible and just let the East forget about you, kiddo. That's the best you can do. So it doesn't look like the Leafs are going to be able to gain anything out of Marner. He's just going to walk, so they gain salary cap. So I don't know if they have enough to acquire a Jason Robertson from Dallas, but that is something I heard. I don't know if that's confirmed, that Jason Robertson is potentially on the trade block, but I think he'd be an all right fit for Toronto, for sure, considering they need a left winger. So we also have news out of Pittsburgh. They've announced that they're not going to be re-signing Evgeny Malkin, and this will be his final season as a Pittsburgh Penguin, whether he likes it or not. So we're getting a little cutthroat here in Pittsburgh. I don't know how Malkin feels about that. He may be the one that have said that. He's like, you put out that press release, I'm not playing anymore after this. I am fucking Dunyan rings. And what's the future for Malkin? Is he going to retire after this, or is he going to pull a Brad Marchand, get sent to some other team and get completely rejuvenated, and boom, he gets another 4 years out of him? Who knows? I can easily see that. Ron, don't eat puke. What the fuck are you doing? Wow, owning cats sometimes can be an adventure. I just witnessed my cat eat a mouthful of puke, and I will now be traumatized by that for the rest of my life. All right, let's move on somehow. Let us discuss the Olympics. Let's talk Olympics. So they announced The teams announced their first 6 players, so let's talk about it. Canada, they announced for their first 6 players, Sidney Crosby, of course, Nathan McKinnon, of course, Cale Makar, of course, Connor McDavid, of course, Braden Point, all right, and Sam Reinhart, all right, yeah. Hey, Braden Point, unbelievable player. Sam Reinhart, unbelievable player. I'm completely fine with this. People are upset because there's no goalies or there's no whatever. It's not even done yet. So how can you get mad at something that's not even done? Hey, okay, let's go to Latvia. Latvia, they got, Rodrigo Abels. Elvis Bolinskis, I know that guy. He's on Florida. Teddy Bluger, I know that guy. He's somewhere. Zermis Gergensons. Elvis Merzlikens. Artur Silovs. Goaltenders, yeah, okay, cool. All right, that's awesome. United States, come on down. I know there were some angry people about the United States, but you got Jack Eichel, Quinn Hughes, Austin Matthews, Charlie McAvoy, Brady Tkachuk, and Matthew Tkachuk, of course. No goaltenders announced, and there is a little bit of controversy behind it just because I think it's a wide open door right now. Who is the goaltender? I mean, you got Jeremy Swayman, who had a terrible year in Boston. Really good chance he bounces back. Who knows? He could be unreal this year. You got Connor Hellebuck, who has shown time and time again that he can't get it done in the big game, but he just won the Vezina as the best goaltender in the world. So, and then you have Jake Ottinger, who is one of the best young goaltenders in the world, but also kind of can't get it done in the big game. All these are amazing goaltenders. There's even more of them. There's like Thatcher Demko. What if that guy bounces back? There's a lot of really good United States goaltending right now. So, yeah, I'm not surprised they haven't really made a dedicated decision right yet. So just fucking chill and give them a minute. We got Finland. What we got? We got Sebastian Aho, Alexander Barkov, Miro Heiskanen, Esa Lindell, Mikko Rantanen, Jussi Saros in net. Yep, that seems pretty good to me. Looking good. Esa Lindell as a first 6 selection, pretty interesting, but he's pretty good. He's pretty good. I'll see what the problem is. France and Italy. Let's hear it. Who do we got? Jovan. This is for French. Johan Avitu, Pierre-Edouard Bellemare. I know him. Jules Bosque, you got Hugo Gallet, Jordan Perret, you got Alexander Texier. Oh man, a lot of A's. Italy, you got Damien Clara, first pick goaltender, 20-year-old goaltender. Oh yeah. You got Diego Costner, Thomas Larkin, Daniel Montenuto, Tommy Perdeller, Zook, Luca Zanata. Oh, yeah. All right. Those are some fun names to say. Who else have we got? Sweden. Let's do Sweden. We got Rasmus Dahlin, Victor Hedman, Adrian Kempe, Gabriel Landeskog, William Nylander, and Lucas Raymond. Gabriel Landeskog is quite the selection, just kind of considering his health. I don't know if they know for sure if he's like all good to go, but he's back. Amazing story, an amazing leader. So, yeah, a pretty good pick right there for sure. Who else? Denmark. Let's do Denmark. We got Frederick Anderson, Oliver Bjorkstrand, Nikolai Ehlers, Lars Eller, Jesper Jensen Abo. Don't know. He is Denmark's captain at the 2025 Worlds, 33 years old. Jonas Rungsberg. All right, cool. Who else do we got? We did them. Czechia. Let's do Czechia. We haven't done them yet. We got Lucas Dostal, Radkel Gudis, Martin Necas, Andre Palat, why is David Pastrnak not the first pick? Why is he all the way down there? David Pastrnak and Pavel Zatka. All right, that's pretty cool. Is there any other teams I've missed? Did that Switzerland? Have I done the Switzerlands? Let's do Kevin Fiala, Nico Hischier, Roman Josi, Timo Meyer, Nino Niederreiter, and Jonas Siegenthaler. Watch out for those Swiss, man. They're not bad. Slovakia, we haven't. Oh man, okay. There's a lot more than I thought. Wow, there's a lot. Eric Cernak, Martin Feravari, Simon Nemec. Oh, nice. Martin Pospisil, Uri Slavkovsky, Thomas Tata made the team. Very cool. Who else? France we did. Canada we did, right? Have we done Canada? I think that's all of them. If I missed some, oh well, that's my bad, I guess. All right. Okay, one more thing I want to touch on before I let you go. Let's talk about a couple of interesting rule changes that were brought up. They're not official or anything. They're just kind of fun to talk about. They brought them up on the 32 Thoughts, so I'll bring them up too. So we have, after the 5th icing in one period, it becomes a delay of game. I love that. I hate icing in general. Slows the game down. I despise it, especially in games like the early games of the season where the passes aren't really crisp and you see a lot of icings going on. Fucking punish them for that shit, man. Make your passes. Like, oh, I hate icing so much. So I'm all for that one right there. And then we get the interesting one. This one's been talked about before, but the jailbreak, where if your team gets scored on during a power play, the other team's player comes out and it's 5-on-5 again. I think that's really freaking cool, and that just adds a lot more tension to a power play on both ends. Like, it's, ooh, you gotta score, but don't you dare get scored on, because that could be a huge turning point in a game, right? I love that idea. I think those are two very cool rule change ideas. If you got any cool ones, hit me with them. How about we just take out offside completely? Why is that even an issue? I don't understand. If you took out offside, what's the big problem that's going to start happening? We're going to start seeing a lot of cherry picking. I just don't think you will. It's a professional league, man. It's just not, you're just not going to have a guy just sitting up there by the goaltender waiting for breakaways all the time. That happens in school, in elementary school, when you don't know structure and defense and shit like that. Like, I just get rid of offside. I hate it so much. Get rid of the linesmen, get rid of the referees, put a fucking robot in the air, and if they act up, just have lasers shoot at them and say, hey, settle down over there, you guys, just settle down. So that's my suggestion for some rule changes for the NHL. Let me know if you have any cool rule changes, and let me know all your opinions on the NHL and all that great stuff. That's an episode for me. I'm done. I can't talk anymore. I'm done. All right, thank you so much for listening. You're the best, and you want to be even more the best. Make sure you're reviewing and sharing the podcast around wherever you're listening to it. You can drop comments on Spotify. You want to have a question answered, anything about hockey, wrestling, or video games would be preferred. Send in a question, I'll answer it, shout you out, all that good stuff. I upload all of these episodes to YouTube on the Gamer GX Videos YouTube channel. Link in the description. Go subscribe, please and thank you. Another great place you can drop comments. And in terms of what else we got going on with the podcast right now, clearly I'm behind schedule right now. I've slept in one day, so I fucking lost that day, and busy the other day, so you know what I'm saying? Life. So I'm a little bit behind schedule right now. I'm going to try and get that GamerCast recorded. I'll probably drop that on Saturday just to spread it out a little bit. And what is that GamerCast going to be, you ask? Probably going to be on the Switch. Be talking about the Switch, considering I haven't finished Final Fantasy VIII yet still. So yeah, we're going to talk about the Switch, give it some love, talk about the games, talk about games I want to play, haven't played, have played, all that stuff. We're going to give love to the Switch. We're going to be talking about that. And then maybe next week I could talk about Final Fantasy VIII. Maybe we'll do an Armored Core episode. I don't know. Regardless, there's a lot of things to talk about in the gaming world. So we'll always have something to talk about. And in terms of the WrestleCast, I don't know. That was an aggressive meow. I don't remember if there's a pay-per-view this weekend. If there is, there'll be a separate pay-per-view review for said pay-per-view, and there will be the recap as well, going through all your AEW, WWE shows, give you the recap, give you the review, let you know what's going on storyline-wise, and all that great stuff, so make sure you're following along with that. And there we go, everybody. One more time, you the best. Thank you for listening. We'll be back again with some more GX Bloodcast.